Hi, I'm Nancy Cahalan, President and CEO of Your Better Business Bureau, and I'd like to welcome you to our Business Builder webinar series. Today's webinar is entitled Tips to Look Amazing and Professional on Virtual Meetings, and I know I am all ears about this one. Our presenter is Rick Porter. Rick is the owner, president, and founder of Cinch I.T's fast-growing franchise model. He has an unwavering commitment to helping entrepreneurs make their dreams come true. And as president, he manages Cinch I.T franchise in delivering best-in-class customer service and driving innovation. Rick was a member of the U.S. Army's Special Operation Community. Thank you for your service, Rick. And recipient of the Worcester Business Journal's 40 Under 40. Named one of the top 10 best CEOs of 2018, former board chair and current board member of the Better Business Bureau of Central New England, and the founder of Cinch I.T Scholarship Foundation. So welcome, Rick. We have a few housekeeping notes before I turn it over to you. All attendees have been muted. Raise your hand to be unmuted, or you can ask a question in the chat and we'll make sure that Rick gets that question. We'll probably save the questions to the end. And now I'm going to turn it over to Rick.
Thank you, Nancy. I appreciate it. Willer actually turns it over to me. I'll share my screen with everybody in just a little bit. But we have to start off by really acknowledging the fact that we have a lofty goal here today, right? Tips to make us look amazing and professional on virtual meetings. I think I told my wife this as I was getting dressed to leave the office today. I said, I really have to do my best to look at least decent because I have to tell people how to look amazing. So lofty goal. Everybody should be able to see my screen now. And welcome everybody. That's our goal today, and we're going to get started. As Nancy said, my name is Rick Porter. I am the owner of a company called Cinch I.T, as well as a company called Worcester Interactive, and I think the two companies combined make me a fun resource for today. One, because Cinch I.T provides computer support to businesses, and so oftentimes we're providing hardware and software that people use to conduct business, even virtual meetings. And on Worcester Interactive, we do web design and SEO, and so we get some design elements and some creativity involved, and together, hopefully, we can give you some pretty good tips to look amazing. But you don't have to listen to me. I'm going to start off by showing you a couple other people as well. So the first person here, you may recognize Jeff Bezos. He, when asked what is a personal brand, he said, your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. And before we even continue on, I think that's pretty powerful. And I encourage everybody that's on the webinar today to think about that for a second, right? If you weren't in the room, what would your customers say about your personal brand? What would your employees say about your personal brand? I think that's pretty powerful. Now, why is personal branding so important, right? We believe that today you can really differentiate yourself from the competition. Great virtual meetings, as an example, is one way to allow you to build trust with prospective clients, with employees, maybe even with employers, right? How many job interviews are done virtually nowadays, okay? You never get a second chance at a first impression. And now our first impressions oftentimes are virtual. So that's why we're focused on this. Think back at some people who do this really, really well. Oprah, I think, is a great example. She's the queen of personal branding. She continually builds equity in her brand. She's valued at, her brand is valued at $2.5 billion now. And she built this by really understanding who she is and how she wants to project herself to the world. A little bit less known is Gary Vee, but Gary Vee is wildly popular in the business world nowadays. He's a YouTuber, an author, an entrepreneur, an influencer on social media. He's worth about $160 million, and he does a really good job. If anybody was to ask, who knows Gary Vee? If anybody was to ask, what is his personal brand? He'd say he's all about culture. He's all about employees' culture and giving back to employees and treating employees well, because they're going to take care of your customers. And everything he does drives home that message. Okay. So we said you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And I believe for most of us, virtual first impressions are what we're dealing with now every single day. So here's some statistics for you that you may find interesting. Okay. Video conferencing and online meetings have cut down business travel. No brainer, right? Making it less necessary to travel. They say that almost 43% of frequent business travelers say that they will not be traveling anymore, or at least post-pandemic. Okay. A study by Forrester found that companies save an average of $11,000 a year per employee who only work remotely half of the time. That is a huge savings for companies. And so recognizing that fact should tell us all we're probably going to be working remotely part of the time, if not full time in the future, because there is such a cost savings for employers. PwC found that 82% of businesses and HR leaders expect remote work to become a permanent fixture post-pandemic. And they say that in 2023, nearly 70% of organizations will require employees to work remotely. In 2028, they're saying about 30% of all the workforce will be 100% remote. In other words, love them or hate them, virtual meetings are here to stay. I was talking with Nancy and Gary from the BBB a little bit earlier before this call, and we talked about it. I used to jump on phone calls with people all the time. And those phone calls are a way of the past. People no longer even want to get on a phone call with me. Last week, I offered to have a quick, 15-minute introduction call with a woman from Florida, and she sent me a link to Zoom. Now, camera was off. It wasn't a virtual meeting in this instance, but she preferred to just send a Zoom link or a Teams meeting instead of even a phone call. Virtual meetings are going nowhere. So what do we need to do about it? Why are we here today? How about this one? Let's stop being lazy, all of us, and put intention into our virtual environment. Okay, a couple examples. We all thought these were funny, right? These memes and these things that you saw on social media, the guy in his underwear on a virtual meeting, never really got dressed. This one was I like this one. This was a Twitter post from a woman who gave an interview on CNN, but this is what was going on in the background, right? We all thought it was funny. Here's one that's not so funny, but it's going to start to drive the point home. Here's 4 individuals on a Zoom call, and what do you know about these people? They're having fun, they're smiling, good time, but look how boring the backgrounds are. There's white, there's no real personalities. It's not personal, right? You wouldn't look at any of them and say they look amazing. Now we start to dip our toe into it. Some people who put intention into a good camera, some good lighting, chose their background very carefully. And in this case, it's not blurring out the background or a fake background. They put intention into their background. We're dipping our toe into something that just looks a lot better and is going to give a better first impression. Now, I think we can do even better than these two. And that's what our goal here today is. So the first thing we want to talk about is we need to identify our personal brand or develop our personal brand, and then we can set our stage, right? Then we can set our virtual environment. So here's my tips for developing your own personal brand. First, figure out who you are and determine what you want to be known for. I mentioned Gary Vee a little bit earlier. He's all about culture, taking care of employees, and they will take care of your customers, right? In my own environment here, we're going to pick on me a lot today, guys, just for the record. In my virtual environment, I tried to pick some art pieces on the wall that are business related, but fun, right? Fun and youthful and energetic, with some Monopoly pieces. Behind me on this side, you see a little Cinch I.T hat, and you see some business books. On the other side over here, you see some pictures of my kids. I'm a dad, right? I'm a dad of 3 kids, and you see a little hat over here that says Front Row Dads. It's an organization that I'm part of that is dedicated to being there for our children, but also in the front row, right? There's little pieces of me in my environment, right? Step 3, define your audience, right? Who are you talking to most often? Because maybe your environment should also be relatable to your audience. Okay, research your desired industry and follow experts, right? I mentioned Gary Vee. Gary Vee is an entrepreneur, an influencer, this and that. Follow and see what he does. Does a little bit of research on him. You know, what type of environments is he in? You know, how does he dress? What does he look? What's his environment look like? You may get some good tips and tricks from him as well. Remember that your personal brand isn't just online. It's in person. So I had a meeting with my marketing team today, and they were going through TikTok. Love it or hate it, we were going through TikTok, and they created a couple videos. And one of the things we looked at as we actually wanted one of the people that were in the videos just to put on some swag that said, you know, Cinch I.T. on their t-shirt, right? Represent the brand there as well, right? If you're a down south country boy, my wife's from Georgia, right? Maybe you wear that cowboy hat, right? I'm going a little crazy here to drive home the point, but really represent who you are in real life. Make sure that this virtual environment that you're creating and the way you're making this first impression online, it's not fake. It's truly who you are. Here's some details. Hopefully you guys can read this, but if not, I'm going to go over it. But now let's start talking about your environment, okay? First thing for your professional setting. Have you selected a suitable business background for your video calls and conferencing, right? So many people working from home are sitting at their dining room table with nothing but a plain white backdrop in the back. If virtual meetings aren't going anywhere, it's about time we put intention into it, right? Can we set a background? I don't care if you have to sit at that dining room table, because that's the best place for you to be able to work, or maybe you have some natural lighting coming in from the window, but can we put something on the background that shows who you are, right? Do you have a nice, tidy, uncluttered space for those video conference calls, right? If you looked behind me and on this credenza behind me, there was paperwork stacked up everywhere and it looked a mess and disorganized, would that tell you a little bit about me? Absolutely, probably not a good thing. I'm either overworked, I'm not on top of things, I'm a mess, I'm disorganized. That's the type of message I'd be giving to all of you today just by joining this virtual environment. Okay, so organize your desk. Make sure your background is tidy and professional and uncluttered. Okay, is the room, desk, or window lighting bright enough? Okay, so many people sit in front of a window to get that natural lighting in, which is fantastic. I here have a window behind me. It's actually a challenge. I have to shut the blinds and I have to bring in another source of light because I don't have a window in front of me here. So I'll show you the light that I'm using today, but we're using a light to shine some light on my face, okay? If you have paintings, photos, images on the background, are they appropriate? Are they not too distracting? Do they positively represent who you are and your brand? In my case, I hope they do. That's what I was going for. Do you have appropriate props, books, signage, branding assets, right? I've got the Cinch I.T hat over here, right? I don't wear the hat all day at work, but I put it out. It's just reminding people who we are and who I am as an individual, okay? Preparation and equipment is really important as well. I'm going to show you some of the equipment that I use, but have you framed yourself wisely within your camera? When I jumped on here with Nancy today, one of the first things I did is adjust the camera, right? Am I centered in the frame, right? Is my credenza behind me centered in the frame? Am I offset with two pictures on the backgrounds? Somebody told me there's a funny comedy called Between Two Ferns. Technically I have two ferns over here. I haven't seen the show, right? But we're being very intentional with how I frame myself and my environment, okay? Have you tested your lighting in your office? If you've noticed, I have some green back here, Cinch I.T's core colors, right? I've added some lights. I've made sure I've tested my lighting ahead of time. Hopefully it looks good for you guys, okay? Have you positioned your computer, your iPad, your phone, or your camera so it's not set too low? You know, in my case here, I think the camera might be set a little too high. I probably have too much room over here, but I'm trying to set myself where it looks good. Most people don't realize this, but sometimes when the camera angle is looking up at you, it's not a great angle, right? It makes people feel a certain way. I coach soccer for my kids, right? And one of the things they teach you as a coach is to get down on the kid's level, look at them eye to eye, right? Sometimes it feels too authoritative if you're standing up looking down on them, right? It's the same thing with your camera, whether it's intentional or not, right? Choose the angle of your camera appropriately, okay? Have you pre-tested your equipment to ensure there's no microphone, speakers, sounds, or camera issues, right? That's my biggest fear today. I'm jumping on here with you guys today, and we're trying my best to show you guys how to try to look amazing and professional on here. Goodness gracious, imagine if you couldn't hear me or my picture was terrible, my lighting was dark, right? So pre-test that equipment ahead of time. So we're gonna pick on Rick now. Here's an example of what I look like on virtual meetings pre-pandemic or at the beginning of the pandemic, okay? And let's talk about some of the things you notice over here, right? Before the examples. First off, harsh white walls behind me, right? The lighting is almost like blown out. It's really harsh and the white backgrounds are almost distracting, right? Really messy background. You got paperwork off to the side. You can see my computer bag is off to the left, right? You got binders of just different work things that I'm working on is in the background. The interesting pictures are there, but you can't see them. You have no idea what they're about, right? There's no personalization, right? You don't see pictures of my children on there. You don't see any branding on there. There's no personalization about my brand or the company itself. I also look really pale. Now, it might have been wintertime and I'm Irish, so I'm either bright red or pale. But if you notice, hopefully in today's video, I'm not as pale. And it's not because I've been tanning, I promise you. It's just lighting, right? This looks like a very sterile environment, right? Not a great picture. The camera angle is actually looking down on me. So just not a great job. So what we do, we put intention into this. And I tried to go for ruggedly handsome. What do you think? Don't answer that. Nancy, if there's anybody who puts anything in the chat that says anything about not looking ruggedly handsome, I don't want to know about it. Ignorance is bliss. But what did we do here? Okay, number one, we added some accent lighting, okay? My colors at Cinch I.T are green, so we added a little bit of green accent colors. We found these on Amazon for like $20 or $25, very inexpensive. But it just shows a little bit of intention and a little bit of dynamic, interesting things to the background. I organized my background, right? I got rid of those binders that were just work that I was doing. And I love to read, and I love to read business books, right? Business and leadership. So I took them off of my bookshelf, which is right over here to my side, and I put them on the back to display some of them. I have a picture of my kids when they were really little on my desk because I think it's the cutest picture on earth. I put it in the back so everybody else can see it as well, right? I lowered the pictures, right? I lowered the pictures so that they're in frame now. And you can actually see what my office looks like and who I am and the things that I like and the environment I like to create for myself. The other thing that you might not catch is I centered the desk, the credenza behind me, on the window. Before it was off to the side. It just, whether you realize it or not, it does throw things off just a little bit. And I'll give you a before and after in just a minute. Also, I had better posture, right? Not something I'm very good at. I have to remind myself to sit with better posture. And instead of leaning forward, right? How many of you have done virtual meetings where you're looking at the top of someone's forehead, right? I had some better posture. And the goal is that the after looks warm and personal, right? Here's the before and after, okay? Again, you see that whitewashed look before, right? And hopefully the after is a major improvement. Now, this major improvement did not cost a lot of money. I'm not telling you to go out and spend $1,000 on improving your environment, your audio, your camera, and everything, okay? As a matter of fact, what you're looking at was done with the exact same camera, okay? I purchased some lighting, and I did eventually improve a microphone, but I think when we took this picture, it was the same microphone anyways, okay? But hopefully you guys notice a major difference between the two. And hopefully you can take some of the tips we talked about to create a virtual environment that makes you show off your personal brand or your company's brand, or better yet, maybe even a little bit of both. I am going to provide you guys with some hardware suggestions, and Nancy can share these in the chat feature for you as well. Any type of USB camera is perfect. So this Logitech that you see on the screen here is what I'm using today, okay? I think it's a nice camera. I think it gives a good picture. It easily clips on the back of your monitor or on the back of your laptop. But so I use a laptop, and I think the embedded camera in the laptop is just not high quality. It's really not. You can get 4K cameras. This is not a 4K camera at all. It's a 1080 camera, but it gives a good picture, I believe, and a lot better than my integrated one that's on my laptop. And then one on the laptop, you can't change the angle, right? You're pointing your screen up or down, and you're usually the camera angle is looking up at you. I can put this anywhere. Right now, it happens to be on top of my monitors, okay? And again, Nancy can share that link. I bought this on, all the links are gonna just be Amazon links. So I got this one on Amazon, and it was not that expensive at all. But any USB external camera that you like, it would be perfect. You can find them as cheap as about $25. Lighting. So 2 pieces here. So one, what you see, the circle is called a ring light. I have that ring light set up right now. Okay, so directly above my head, almost in front of my face, is a ring light projecting some light onto my face. Again, because I don't have a window in front of me. I don't have any natural lighting. Okay, what I do have is this ring light. It does not blind me at all. Doesn't bother me at all. If I'm not on a virtual call, I can shut it off, and I do most of the time. But it sheds some really great light, hopefully, on my face, and that's what gives me that look of not being so pale. I can brighten it or darken it if it's too bright or too light. Also, some sort of accent light. This is not the one I use, okay? But this is an example. I think this was on Amazon for about $25 or something like that. You can change the colors. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff with it. But I love some sort of accent light in the background. I don't use battery operated. You can. They're actually easier to find battery operated, I believe. But mine just plug into the wall. So I don't have to worry about changing batteries. They had the green color. It shines a little bit of green color up on the back. Again, they're little things, but when you put them all together, it can create a pretty unique background. So add some color to your background, add some lighting, maybe that correlates with your brand. Microphone. Two types of microphone I like. I like for virtual meetings. One, the first thing I'd say is make sure it's a USB microphone, so you can quickly and easily plug this into your computer. Very easy to use. There's ones that you can set up on your desk, like that Audio Pro that you see. It just stands on your desk and you can talk. And the other one is a boom mic, right? It has an arm that you guys can move around. Whether my audio sounds great or not, you guys would have to tell me, but I'm using the boom microphone. So I'll actually pull it into frame. This is my boom microphone right here. As you can notice, I can pull it in really close, and it probably sounds even better if I bring it close to my mouth, or I can direct it and leave it just out of frame. Here's my suggestion here. There's a lot of people that we have virtual meetings with that are still wearing the big clunky headphones. I have mine right here. These are the big clunky headphones, right? And this is what we started with. If these virtual meetings are not going away, then untether yourself, right? The boom microphone, I think that I included in here was like $25 or $50. It's not expensive, but now it allows you the freedom to move around, to not have those on your head the entire time. It just looks more natural. Hopefully this looks more of just a business conversation without all the technology, on my head and things like that. So I highly recommend to ditch the headphones and to get a microphone like this. That's my suggestion. Okay. Hopefully some of this stuff was helpful. I tried to, be clear and concise, but really go through, what the important pieces are. Nancy, I'll turn it back over to you. If you have any questions that anybody would like to talk about, happy to go through it with everybody. I will change the presenter back to you, Nancy.
All right, thank you. That was fabulous. I did share the, okay, we won't be showing my screen because that's where all the clutter is. So I did share the information about your camera, ring light, accent lighting, and microphone. We'll be following up with a follow-up email to everyone with the recording of today's presentation. We'll include that information as well, and there'll be some other things in there too. So watch for that email that will be coming to you. It may not come until tomorrow because we have to wait for the video to be ready. One question we have now, Rick, we know that you do podcasts as well. And so wondering if this is the same equipment that you would use to do your podcast, or do you use something else?
So that's a really good question. So in my case, it is not the same equipment, but it could be. It absolutely could be. So I can tell you, so I guess that's almost a lie. I lied to you, Nancy. I apologize. So yes and no. Yes and no, and I'll explain. So here in our office, we do have a podcast studio. Okay. And so when we have guests that want to record in person, which I think is a little bit better quality, then we'll actually go down to the podcast studio. And for that, we use what's called a Rhodes microphone, R-O-D-E-S, I believe, Rhodes microphone system. Okay. It's very similar. It's 4 of these boom microphones. That happens to have a mixing board and things like that. It's a different brand microphone, but it's basically the same thing. Now that's when we want to record in person. I also have a software called Squadcast. And when we do virtual podcasts, then I do use this equipment. So I will actually bring the microphone a lot closer because the audio is usually a little bit better. I still don't need the headsets. I still get to have a conversation, but Squadcast works a lot like this GoToMeeting. Actually, I will join, we'll be able to see each other, have a conversation, and we'll record our audio directly through my computer. So in that case, it does use all of this equipment. So it absolutely can.
Okay, because I think that's a good thing to keep in mind if you're buying equipment, if you need things for other purposes as well. So you don't buy a whole bunch of different things. If you can, you get a better one and that you can use for everything.
Absolutely. Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I think that was the only question we had.
Easy crowd today.
We
and
had
hopefully nobody answered, no, Rick, you do not look amazing or ruggedly handsome.
No, we got a lot. Well, we got a lot of people that said, yes, you look amazing. But they thought you looked amazing to start with, even though you were a little pale.
Very pale. Very pale.
Thank you so much. Thank you for our attendees today. Again, watch for that follow-up email. And thank you for Rick to share these valuable tips. And there was a real big difference between those 2 images with not much of an investment. So I think that's very important. We do want to get our best self across. We only have that one first opportunity. So look for the follow-up email. We will also put some information in there about next webinars that are scheduled. We have one on May 3rd entitled Business Valuation and How You Grow It. And that will be presented by Rita Coco from Rita Coco Consulting and Dave McLaren, founder and managing partner of McLaren and Associates CPA. So I'm looking forward to that. And I guess that's it for today. Thank you, everybody. Until next time.
Thanks, everyone.